Let's look at the Hunter Valley now in New South Wales. It's largely defined by coal country meets the wine industry as well, which has long served as a battleground on climate change. The ultra-marginal seat, in theory, decides who wins government, but it seems a transition to renewable energy has not been entertained as a campaign-worthy concern by the major parties. This has some voters in the community pretty nervous. Joining me live is outgoing federal Labor MP for the New South Wales seat of Hunter Joel Fitzgibbon. Yeah. Where have you been? You've been very quiet, uncharacteristic, I might say.
Laura, you're talking to me, aren't you?
I am. You've been very quiet, Joel Fitzgibbon. Where have you been? Very uncharacteristic for you not to be near the TV.
Well, I've been very busy campaigning in the Hunter electorate, where I think Dan Repacholi will have a solid win tomorrow.
A solid win? Wow. OK. We haven't had this kind of truth talking for quite some time during this campaign. So why do you think a solid win for Labor?
Well, Laura, we had a very big swing against us last time, of course. The seat is still held by Labor with a margin of 3%. And I think some people will come back to us tomorrow. We have an outstanding candidate in Dan Repacholi. I wouldn't have retired if that were not the case. I have a lot of confidence in him, his campaign, and worked very, very hard. He's had strong support from me and the broader team, and I go into tomorrow's ballot pretty confident.
OK, so One Nation took about 17% of the vote off you at the last election. One Nation has a pretty strong candidate this time around, and you say you'll get some of that back. How much do you think?
I'd expect One Nation to secure only half of the primary vote it secured last time around. We'll wait and see. Obviously, people are still turning to them. They're upset about a whole range of issues. There are a lot of people here still concerned about the lockdowns. Lockdowns, by the way, I supported and the Labor Party supported. But they'll park their protest vote with One Nation. But I don't think One Nation will get anything like the vote it secured at the 2019 election.
As you know, I headed to the Hunter and we did one of our battleground seat debates, which was really instructive. All three candidates were really passionate. But at that time, there was a lot of talk about this safeguard mechanism and amounting to a tax on some of the coal mines there. So you're saying that hasn't really hurt Dan Repacholi at all?
Well, scare campaigns always work on some people, Laura, and that will no doubt be the case tomorrow. But I believe most people in the Hunter now understand that Labor is committed to the coal mining industry. We support the coal mining industry, and the safeguard mechanism will do no harm to any coal mine in this electorate, nor anywhere else in the country.
It was interesting. I have heard from some of my national sources that Matt Canavan actually went south. He was campaigning in seats like the Hunter and like Patterson, and of course he has a very different view to what the coalition has agreed on net zero. He said net zero is dead. And once he did move into those seats, I'm told internally the Nationals polling went down a couple of points on that message. Does that equate with what you've heard?
I suspect that's true, Laura, because we haven't seen much of Matt. Matt spent a lot more time here in 2019 than he has during this election campaign. Barnaby Joyce turned up yesterday and he's here today, but he hasn't been a regular visitor. I think they've come to the conclusion that their scare campaign... I mean, they're a one-trick pony, aren't they, Laura? Every election it's just a big scare campaign on coal mining, and I think the coal miners and their families are starting to work that out. But I think the fact that Matt's not been around much indicates that he is a drag on their primary vote, and explains a lot about how people now see their policies.
Yep, but if the independents get across the line tomorrow, will Anthony Albanese be tempted? Because these independents want stronger action on climate change than Labor has committed to. What is your message to Anthony Albanese if he's considering that?
Well, the orthodoxy once was, Laura, that you take government any time you can secure it. But I think we learned in 2010 that deals with minor parties might deliver you government for a while in the short term, but can be very damaging in the longer term. And there is no doubt that Labor's deal with the Greens in 2010 in order to form government continues to hurt the Labor Party today. It's a weapon our opponents use against us. So I know Anthony Albanese will be very acutely aware of that dilemma. He won't do anything that runs contrary in those negotiations, if he has them. He won't do anything that runs contrary to the ideals and values of our party, nor the policies we've committed to. And we've made a very strong commitment to the coal mining industry, and on that basis I have full confidence in him and any way in which he might manage any such negotiations if they occur.
So your message is don't do deals with the independents?
Well, take government if and when you can, Laura, but don't do deals that only do the party harm in the long run, but more particularly are in conflict with our policies, our ideals and objectives as a party. And if we stick to that recipe, and I know Anthony Albanese will, it'll be okay.
An honest assessment from you, if you will, Joel Fitzgibbon. Has Labor run a good campaign?
I think Labor's run a very solid campaign in the sense that it has stuck absolutely to its strategy and the policies it wanted to focus on. They are big policies, promising a more positive and brighter future for the country. So I think we get a big tick for that, and I think it will serve us well tomorrow. So
Labor's going to win in majority?
Yeah, it's a big call, Laura, isn't it? So it's a tight election. I'd rather be us than them. But when you do the seat-by-seat count, it does get challenging trying to find the 7 seats the Labor Party requires. But it's even more challenging finding the seats that Scott Morrison will require to offset the losses in those Teal seats. So, I mean, if you take an optimistic view, it's easy to find 10 seats for Labor, more than enough. But if you take the pessimistic view, it gets a little bit difficult. But again, I'd rather be us or them. I think tomorrow night it will either be a Labor victory or a hung parliament. I cannot see a path to victory for Scott Morrison.
Joel Fitzgibbon, more of that straight talk tomorrow night. We're looking forward to it. Great to see you up there in Cessnock. We'll see you soon.